Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating question. How do you piece together a lost golden age? We're not talking about giant monuments, but something you could literally hold in your pocket. We're going to look at an entire empire, all through the face of a coin. So, from around 300 to 550 CE, the Gupta Empire was at the heart of what many call India's classical age. For almost 200 years, it was a real beacon of prosperity. This was a time of incredible invention and discovery in science, technology, math, you name it. That's a huge challenge for historians. How can you really see this magnificent past when so many of its grand temples and palaces have just vanished? Where do you even start looking for clues? All right, so before we zoom in on the coins, let's just quickly set the scene for this incredible era of achievement. The empire really gets going around 300 CE, but it hits this amazing cultural high point under a ruler named Chandragupta II. This was a time of relative peace and prosperity, which, as you know, lets the arts and sciences just flourish. But by about 480 CE, things start to get tough, outside pressures build up, and the empire begins a long, slow decline. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. Our best clues about this empire, about its rise and fall, don't actually come from giant ruins or sprawling archaeological sites. In fact, the most common official documents to survive from this whole period aren't big stone tablets or fancy scrolls. Nope, they're coins. Thousands and thousands of them have been found, and they've become the main evidence that helps us piece together the history of this otherwise quiet empire. And that's exactly what the experts, numismaticists, do. They don't just see money when they look at these. They see a complex jigsaw puzzle, with each little piece waiting to tell its part of the story about the people who made it. So let's take a closer look at the coins themselves, because they are truly masterful works of art. We are not talking about simple, stamped pieces of metal here. The artists who designed these coins basically created a whole new style, one with incredible beauty and energy, and their influence was huge. This new way of making art spread from Burma all the way to Afghanistan, really shaping the artistic style of a huge part of the continent. And this list just brilliantly shows the incredible variety of what they were putting on these coins. Just look at these types: archer, lion slayer, horseman, even a rhinoceros slayer type. These weren't boring, static portraits. These were action scenes, mythical events, and big displays of the king's power, all captured on these tiny little metal canvases. But okay, these coins weren't just pretty. They were powerful tools of communication, especially in a time before any kind of mass media. I mean, think about it. Every single time a coin changed hands, it was carrying a message directly from the king. These designs were meant to shout to the world that the kings were the most religious, the most heroic, and the most powerful rulers in the land. It was basically state-sponsored messaging you could carry right in your pocket. And it wasn't just the pictures either. Even the text, the inscriptions, were super carefully chosen. A king wouldn't just put his name on there. He'd use what's called a biruda, a special title designed to project a very specific image. I mean, calling yourself the sum of valor on the money everybody uses, that is a serious power move. Some coins even show a ritual called the Ashvamedha, or horse sacrifice. Now, this was not just any old ceremony. This was the ultimate flex, the ultimate declaration of imperial power. By pulling off this year-long challenge, a king was basically proving to everyone that he was the undisputed ruler of all the lands that horse had wandered through. Putting that on a coin, that was a message nobody could possibly misunderstand. But the story doesn't stop with the images in the text, because now, using modern science, we can uncover a whole other story, an economic one, that's hidden in the actual metal of the coins. So, by studying what the coins are made of, specifically how pure the gold is, we can get a pretty good sense of the empire's economic health. A strong, booming empire, it's going to use high-purity gold. An empire that's feeling the pressure, well, it might have to start stretching its resources a bit. And this table tells that story so clearly. Using techniques like X-ray fluorescence, we can see a definite trend. Coins from the empire's peak, under Chandragupta II, are about 92% pure gold. That's really high. But look what happens later. Under kings like Skandagupta and Vishnugupta, that purity plummets, first to 73%, then all the way down to about 54%. That's a huge drop, and it really hints at the economic stress the later empire was under, probably from things like invasions and fighting.
So, after all of this, what's the big takeaway? What do these tiny, incredible treasures really tell us?
Well, as Dr. Piper puts it, they give us this vital, tangible connection to India's golden age. They're like a breathtaking journey through history, letting us watch the fortunes of an entire dynasty rise and then fall, right in the palm of our hands. So, in the end, these coins are so much more than just old artifacts. They are rich historical documents. At a time when other records are few and far between, they give a voice to a world that would otherwise be silent, letting us piece together a history of its art, its politics, and its economy.
The story of the Gupta Empire, told through its coins, is just a powerful reminder that history is all around us, and often in the most unexpected places. It makes you wonder, right? What other masterpieces are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to find them and let them tell their story? Thanks for joining us.